My grandfather was gone before I could save him. Dr. Sarah Chen's voice breaks slightly as she looks directly into the camera. And the worst part? His death could have been prevented with something as simple as changing his breakfast habits. She pauses, her eyes reflecting both professional authority and personal pain. Today, I'm sharing the 4 breakfast foods that are slowly killing seniors across the country, and the 4 that could literally add years to your life. This information saved my grandmother when we were almost too late. It might save someone you love too. If you're concerned about your health or the health of a loved one, please hit that like button and subscribe now. I post new, life-saving medical information every week that you won't hear in a standard 7-minute doctor's appointment. Dr. Sarah Chen hadn't always planned to become a geriatric nutritionist. Growing up in a small Midwestern town, she had witnessed her grandfather, a robust farmer his entire life, deteriorate rapidly after retirement. His decline seemed to accelerate after his 70th birthday, culminating in a massive stroke that took his life when Sarah was in her 2nd year of medical school. I kept asking myself what changed, Sarah explained to the camera, now seated in her sunlit office, diplomas visible on the wall behind her. He had been healthy his entire life, then suddenly diabetes, heart problems, cognitive issues, all cascading one after another. The answer had come too late for her grandfather, but just in time for her grandmother, Eleanor. After her husband's death, Eleanor had moved in with Sarah's parents. That's when Sarah noticed the pattern. Every morning, Grandma would have the same breakfast my grandfather used to eat. A large glass of orange juice, white toast with margarine, a bowl of sweetened cereal, and occasionally a cheese Danish. Sarah shook her head. It seemed innocent enough. It's what millions of seniors eat every morning across America. But this combination was quite literally killing her, just as it had contributed to killing my grandfather. Sarah's eyes grew intense as she leaned forward. Let me be clear about the 4 breakfast foods seniors should never consume, and why they're so dangerous. Worst breakfast number 1. Processed cereals. Eleanor Chen loved her morning bowl of cereal. The colorful box promised health benefits, fiber, and essential vitamins. What it didn't advertise as prominently was the shocking amount of sugar. Many cereals marketed to health-conscious seniors contain more sugar than a candy bar, Sarah explained, holding up a popular cereal box. For my grandmother, who was developing insulin resistance, each morning began with a blood sugar spike that lasted for hours, creating a cascade of inflammation throughout her body. When Sarah first suggested Eleanor change her breakfast cereal, the older woman had been resistant. "That's ridiculous," Eleanor had said firmly, clutching her favorite cereal box. "This says heart healthy right on the label. Your grandfather ate this every day. And he died of a stroke at 73, Sarah had replied gently. The words had hung in the air between them, painful but necessary. Worst breakfast number 2, fruit juice. Fruit juice is perhaps the most misunderstood health food in America, Sarah continued. A large glass of orange juice contains as much sugar as a can of soda, without the fiber that makes whole fruit beneficial. For Eleanor, the morning ritual of orange juice represented normalcy and health, something from her generation's understanding of nutrition. She had grown up seeing advertisements touting juice as sunshine in a glass and nature's health drink. When I told my grandmother to stop drinking juice, she looked at me like I'd suggested she stop breathing, Sarah said with a small smile. For her generation, questioning juice was like questioning whether the sun would rise. Eleanor had reluctantly agreed to cut back, replacing her large glass with a much smaller serving, treating it more like a treat than a dietary staple. The changes in her energy levels had been noticeable within days. Worst breakfast number 3. White bread toast with margarine. The combination of refined white flour and trans fats in margarine creates a perfect storm for cardiovascular problems, Sarah explained. For seniors already at risk for heart disease, this common breakfast choice accelerates arterial damage. Eleanor had been particularly attached to her morning toast. The soft texture was easy on her aging teeth, and the routine dated back to her childhood during the Great Depression, when white bread represented prosperity and security. My grandmother actually cried the day I suggested switching from her white toast, Sarah recalled. It wasn't just about food, it was about comfort, memory, and identity. That's why making these changes requires compassion and understanding, not just medical directives. Worst breakfast number 4, pastries and breakfast sweets. Danishes, donuts, muffins, these are essentially desserts masquerading as breakfast, Sarah stated firmly. They combine the worst elements: refined flour, sugar, unhealthy fats, and virtually no nutritional value. For Eleanor, the occasional cheese Danish had been a small joy, a treat she allowed herself on Sundays after church or when the grandchildren visited. "I'm not saying seniors can never enjoy a treat," Sarah clarified. "But calling these foods breakfast normalizes what should be a rare indulgence. When we reclassify them as what they truly are, desserts, we make better daily choices." Sarah paused, taking a sip of water. "After my grandfather's death, my grandmother's health was following the same frightening trajectory. Prediabetes, rising blood pressure, increasing inflammation markers, mild cognitive impairment starting to appear. As a doctor, I could see where this was heading. As her granddaughter, I was terrified." The screen transitioned to Sarah walking with an elderly woman through a garden. Eleanor, now 86, moving with surprising vigor for her age. "But here's where our story changes," Sarah continued, her voice brightening. "When Grandma agreed to transform her breakfast habits, replacing those 4 dangerous foods with the 4 essential ones I'm about to share with you, her health metrics began improving within weeks." Essential breakfast number 1, protein-rich foods. "Seniors need more protein than younger adults, not less," Sarah explained. "Muscle loss accelerates with age, and protein at breakfast helps combat this process, maintaining strength and independence." Eleanor had initially resisted the idea of eating what seemed like dinner foods for breakfast. Eggs, Greek yogurt, and even small portions of fish felt wrong in the morning. Grandma would look at the poached egg on her plate and say, "This doesn't feel like breakfast," Sarah recalled with a laugh. But within a month, her energy levels had improved so dramatically that she became a convert. She started calling it her strength meal. Thomas Williams, a 79-year-old widower who lived next door to Eleanor, had noticed her increased energy and asked about her secret. "I can barely get up the stairs without stopping to rest," he'd confessed one afternoon while they worked in adjacent garden plots. "And my doctor keeps warning me about falling." Eleanor had invited him for breakfast the next morning, introducing him to Sarah's protein-rich breakfast plan. 6 months later, Thomas had regained enough strength to resume his woodworking hobby, something he'd abandoned years earlier when handling the tools became too difficult. "Protein at breakfast isn't just about nutrition," Sarah emphasized. "It's about maintaining independence, continuing hobbies, and staying active in your community." Essential breakfast number 2, berries and low-glycemic fruits. The antioxidants in berries specifically target the type of cellular damage that accelerates aging, Sarah explained. For brain health particularly, nothing outperforms these tiny nutritional powerhouses. Eleanor had embraced berries easily enough. They were sweet and delicious, but had initially balked at the cost. "These cost 4 times what bananas do," she had protested during their first shopping trip under the new plan. "And they deliver about 10 times the anti-aging benefits," Sarah had countered gently. "We're investing in your health, not just filling your stomach." Gradually, Eleanor had developed a morning ritual of adding berries to her yogurt, taking almost meditative pleasure in arranging the colorful fruits. She'd even started growing strawberries in her small garden plot. After 3 months on her new breakfast plan, Grandma's cognitive assessment scores actually improved, Sarah noted. Her doctor was stunned. Cognitive decline is expected to progress, not reverse. When he asked what had changed, she proudly told him, "My granddaughter taught me to eat like someone who wants to live to see her great-grandchildren graduate college." Essential breakfast number 3, healthy fats. The aging brain requires specific fats to maintain function and resist degeneration, Sarah continued. Avocados, olive oil, nuts, and seeds provide these essential fats while supporting heart health. This had been perhaps the biggest shift in mindset for Eleanor's generation, who had lived through the low-fat craze of the 1980s and 90s. When I first suggested adding avocado to her breakfast, my grandmother looked horrified, Sarah remembered. But it's full of fat, she said. Decades of misleading nutrition advice had convinced her generation that all fat was dangerous. Eleanor's friend Margaret had been even more resistant when Eleanor shared her new breakfast approach. My doctor told me to watch my cholesterol, Margaret had insisted. I can't be eating fatty foods. But after seeing Eleanor's improvements, her clearer skin, better mental clarity, and increasing energy, Margaret had cautiously incorporated some of the changes. 6 months later, Margaret's cholesterol panel had actually improved, with higher HDL, good cholesterol, and lower triglycerides. The right fats don't make seniors fat or unhealthy, Sarah emphasized. They make them sharper, more energetic, and better protected against the diseases of aging. Essential breakfast number 4. Fiber-rich vegetables. Most Americans, especially seniors, get less than half the recommended daily fiber, Sarah explained. Including vegetables at breakfast closes this gap and transforms digestive health, which connects to everything from immunity to mood. This had been the hardest sell for Eleanor. Vegetables for breakfast seemed utterly foreign and unappealing. You want me to eat what? She had asked incredulously when Sarah first suggested adding spinach to her morning eggs or including leftover roasted vegetables with breakfast. Just try it for 2 weeks, Sarah had urged. If you hate it after giving it a fair chance, we'll find alternatives. 2 months later, Eleanor had developed her own signature breakfast bowl, sautéed spinach and bell peppers with scrambled eggs, topped with avocado and a few berries on the side. She'd even started inviting her senior center friends over for breakfast makeover gatherings. The fiber in vegetables doesn't just help with digestion, which is critical as we age, Sarah noted. It feeds the gut microbiome, which emerging research shows may be one of our most powerful tools against neurodegeneration and inflammation. The camera followed Sarah and Eleanor as they prepared breakfast together in a bright kitchen. Eleanor moved with surprising agility for her age, reaching for ingredients and chatting animatedly. For years ago, I was taking 7 different medications and needed help getting up from deep chairs, Eleanor told the camera. Today, I'm down to 2 medications, I tend my garden daily, and last month I started teaching a watercolor class at the senior center. Sarah smiled at her grandmother with evident pride. The transformation wasn't immediate or always easy, she acknowledged. There were mornings when Grandma looked longingly at her old cereal boxes or grumbled about missing her toast. I still have orange juice sometimes, Eleanor interjected with a mischievous smile. But now it's a small glass as an occasional treat rather than a daily habit. The point isn't perfection, Sarah agreed. It's about making your everyday choices count toward the life you want to live in your 70s, 80s, and beyond. As the video approached its conclusion, Sarah addressed the camera directly once more, her expression serious but hopeful. My grandfather didn't get this information in time. But since implementing these changes, my grandmother has regained her health and, more importantly, her zest for life. Her story isn't unusual. I've now seen these same transformations in hundreds of patients in my practice. Eleanor appeared beside her granddaughter. I thought being tired, forgetful, and gradually losing my abilities was just part of getting old, she said. It turns out much of what we accept as normal aging is actually the result of decades of dietary choices that work against our bodies rather than supporting them. Sarah nodded. The 4 breakfast foods to avoid: processed cereals, fruit juice, white bread with margarine, and pastries, are slowly robbing millions of seniors of their golden years. And the 4 essential breakfast elements, protein, berries, healthy fats, and vegetables, can help restore what many believe is permanently lost, Eleanor added. If you know a senior who's struggling with health issues, energy levels, or cognitive concerns, please share this video with them, Sarah urged. And if you're a senior watching this yourself, know that it's never too late to make changes that can dramatically improve your quality of life. Eleanor squeezed her granddaughter's hand. I'm living proof of that. At 86, I'm healthier than I was at 76, and I plan to be even better at 96. Like and subscribe for more videos about how nutrition can transform health at any age, Sarah concluded. Next week, we'll be discussing the shocking connection between certain common medications and accelerated cognitive decline, and what you can do to protect yourself or your loved ones. Until then, remember, breakfast isn't just the first meal of your day. For seniors especially, it's potentially the most important health decision you'll make. As the camera pulled back, viewers could see Eleanor and Sarah sitting down to breakfast together, a colorful plate that looked nothing like the traditional American breakfast, but everything like a path to a vibrant future, regardless of age. The following months brought an unexpected development. Sarah's video went viral within senior communities and among adult children caring for aging parents. Her medical practice was flooded with appointment requests, and she began holding community workshops to reach more people. Eleanor became something of a local celebrity, especially after her senior center friends began adopting her breakfast approach and experiencing their own health improvements. The center director eventually asked Eleanor and Sarah to offer a monthly breakfast demonstration for residents. Thomas Williams, Eleanor's neighbor who had been one of the first to try the new breakfast approach, celebrated his 80th birthday with a woodworking exhibition, displaying the intricate birdhouses and music boxes he'd created after regaining his hand strength and dexterity. "I thought my crafting days were behind me," he told visitors. "Turns out I just needed to fuel my body properly." Margaret, who had been so resistant to adding healthy fats, became one of the most enthusiastic converts after her improved cholesterol results. She started a walking group for seniors that grew from 3 participants to 27 in less than a year. "We don't walk particularly fast," she would say with a laugh. "But we walk far and we walk often. Most importantly, we keep showing up for ourselves and each other." Sarah continued making videos, addressing specific health challenges seniors faced and how nutrition could help address them. But she always pointed new viewers back to the breakfast video, which she considered the foundation of her approach. "My grandfather's death left a hole in our family," Sarah reflected in a follow-up video a year later. "But it also created a purpose that has now helped thousands of seniors reclaim their health and vitality. I sometimes think he would be amazed to see his wife now, more active and engaged at 87 than she was at 77. Eleanor, for her part, had developed her own philosophy about aging. Getting older is inevitable, she would tell anyone who asked for her secret. But how you age is largely up to you. It starts with breakfast. The camera lingered on a final scene, Eleanor in her garden, kneeling with surprising ease to tend her strawberry plants, the sun highlighting the vitality in her movements and the contentment in her face. A life transformed, beginning with 4 simple changes to the first meal of the day. Remember to like and subscribe, Sarah's voice reminded viewers as the screen faded. Someone you love may need this information before it's too late.